All right. This is your local election. I'm here with congressional candidate Chris Eddy, running for Congress in Florida's 25th district. So, how are you today, Chris?
Great. Thanks for the invitation. Sorry, I'm in the car. I just spoke to about 400 to 500 people, and a lot of them wanted to talk afterwards. I was hoping to be in my home office
Oh,
when this kicked off, but fortunately for both of us, probably I'm not driving. So I got my wife driving me
that
home.
I'm not driving right now neither. uh, it's just the location I have to do the interviewing right now. But yeah, so you're running for Congress. You're down in Broward County.
That's
Uh,
right. It's South Broward County. Traditionally, people think Broward as a dark blue county, and it had been traditionally. This district is Florida 25, and they redistricted 2 years ago. So it used to be 48% Democrat. Now it's only 41% Democrat and dropping. It's
yeah,
definitely winnable now.
yeah, that goes into a question I actually had. Because your opponent is a very deeply entrenched Democrat who used to be chair of the DNC. So,
Correct.
and she won re-election last year by 11 points. So,
Right. She's just about 45 to 55 in the last election cycle, which is
uh,
her lowest total ever against a candidate that didn't really have the background that I have. So I just need to sway that 5% that's remaining to jump onto our team, and I think I could do that. I was elected city commissioner in Weston 3 years ago and won with the most votes in city history despite being in a three-person race. So we picked up a lot of Democrat votes, a lot of independent voters, and we're doing the same with this election too. We have a lot of Democrats that are supporting us just because they don't like her, they don't like the way the country's headed, or frankly, they want to change. And we're able to give them all of that. I'm a retired Air Force Brigadier General, a retired FBI leader where I ran FBI Miami's intelligence program. We had 160 something analysts and administrative personnel. And we ended up being the number one FBI intelligence shop in the entire country out of 56 offices. So we did fantastic there. And I'm also a city commissioner, as I mentioned, in Weston, and I teach at FIU, National Security and Foreign Policy at Florida International University. So for those individuals looking for somebody with experience at the local and federal level, I kind of fill that box for them as well.
yeah. So I'm glad you brought up that you're an elected city commissioner for Weston, because I was going to ask you, uh, why do you want to make that jump from local politics in a local city going
I,
into federal?
I didn't even want to start at the local level. Uh, I was sitting home enjoying some partial retirement, minding my own business. And then COVID happened, and I disagreed with the way the city was uh, running at that time and the policies they chose. So I went to complain. And one thing in the military, they tell you, don't complain, they'll put you in charge of something. So my wife and I actually went to complain to our local commissioner, and she said, "Well, you should run for office. You have a lot of good ideas." I said, "No, we don't do that. Other people do that. We complain, and other people run for politics." And she said, "Well, wouldn't you rather be the one to make decisions for your family rather than somebody else?" I said, "Oh, that's a good point." So we had middle school kids at the time, and we went and asked them and told them what it was about. And they said, "Dad, you're always complaining. Why don't you quit complaining and do something about it?" So I had to live up to the same principles we try to teach our kids to get involved if you see something that you don't like. We ran a very short campaign. We got in on the very last day of qualification, a 4-month campaign, yet we still, like I said, won with the most votes in city history. We were out fundraised 7-1. Didn't matter. We just outworked everybody and got our message out. And as far as the federal level, again, I'm sitting home minding my own business, enjoying being a city commissioner and taking care of people's permits and trash and streetlights. And this administration decided to give $400 million to the Middle East to improve their border security. while at the same time keep our borders wide open, which I think we're over 6 million people now at the border. At the same time, our fiscal debt and deficit are both out of control. This year's deficit, 1 year, is $1.7 trillion, unfathomable. And interest on the debt is $800 billion this year. That's more than we spend on national defense or education or almost anything. And it just seemed ridiculous to me. And I didn't see anybody doing anything about it. I don't know if you ever turn on your TV and watch these politicians in Washington and you say, is this the best we got as a country? Honestly, on both sides, whether it's Santos out of New York or the Senator Menendez out of Jersey, or some of these people that all they want to do is get on TV and not really help out the most vulnerable in our country. So we decided, I say we because my wife and I had a joint decision, to put our hat in the ring and say, you know what, if we didn't see anybody else trying to do anything about it, then I got to put up or shut up. If I think we should have a balanced budget, then I need to fight for that. If I think our schools, we need to teach the right things in schools and give the power back to the parents, then I need to fight for that. And that's how I got involved at the federal
Yeah,
level.
and you actually kind of started to touch on some of the questions already, because you brought up the spending, and you do have a good portion of your website under issues showing fiscal responsibility and reducing spending being a major goal of yours for getting into Congress. So, is there anything you like to see the government spend less money on or reduce funding, like anything?
Yeah, pretty much everything. It's crazy. In New York, where I'm from, they banned gas stoves. That's their number one priority in New York, I guess. And now they want to come after ceiling fans. Regulate ceiling fans. And I don't know if it's global warming. I don't know why it is. Who knows what they make up. But the person who came up with the idea to regulate ceiling fans more, they need to be out of a job in Washington. You get these people up there with a lot of time on their hands and say, oh, you know what, let's start regulating something else. And there's way too much of that, government. Another secret I learned is it doesn't matter if you raise tax rates or lower tax rates. The revenues to the government always go up, always. Obviously, we should fight for people keeping as much as they can, but the spending grows significantly higher than that. If we just went back to spending what we did 6 years ago, that's it, just 6 years ago, we'd have a balanced budget. But, people get in Washington on both sides and they get caught up and they want to bring home the bacon and show all these trophies to their
Chris?
I don't know if you read
all right, I guess we lost Chris for a minute there. Let's see if he comes back.
You got me now?
Okay, yeah, he just came back.
Okay.
Yeah.
We need to improve cell phone coverage in this country.
Yeah. Well, you weren't out for too long, so geez, I already forgot the last thing I heard you say.
Yeah, it was just about the spending. That,
Yeah.
We're spending too much money.
Yeah.
And the fact is, if we just went back to spending what we were 6 years ago, we'd have a balanced budget. And it's not that hard to do. It's just the political will is definitely not there. People are worried about getting reelected. And I'll tell you what the game is. And Representative Santos, who just got expelled, spilled some of it, is that once you get up there, the parties, both sides, they pressure you to vote. They whip your vote to vote on a bill, even though if it's not good for your district. So if you're a younger congressman, you're new in there, and you might feel pressured because they say if you don't vote for us, then we're going to primary you the next time around. We're not going to fund your election. We're going to run somebody against you. And when you're 30 years old and you just made Congress and it's your whole life, you could see where you'd fall under that pressure. I've already
Yeah.
had my civilian careers. I've already had my titles, my awards. I don't need any of that. I want to do what's right to represent our district. Too many politicians go to Washington and they represent the Washington district and not their home district. So I'm here to represent the 41% of Democrats and the 59% of Republicans and independents, everybody in our district.
Yeah. So I also wanted to ask you, so the next thing on your website after you have your section on the reducing spending and the fiscal responsibility, you have your support of law enforcement. So how do you plan to support law enforcement from Congress?
Most of that, as you probably know, is a local and state issues. The problem is when the Department of Justice gets involved and they say, hey, we're going to start investigating this police department because of potential racial or discrimination. And then they start taking over that police department from the federal level. So they can't even sneeze without permission of DOJ. There's too much federal involvement in local law enforcement. We need to get the federal government out of the way and let the local people who know what the issues are and know what the crime rates are, be able to run their cities effectively. And if they choose not to do it, like San Francisco chose not to do it, then guess what? You get the fallout from that. And our city of Weston, we're the number one or number two safest city in all of Florida year after year after year. And why is that? It's because we support our law enforcement and we believe in law and order and the rule and order as well. So we just have to allow cities to do that and get the federal government out of the way.
Yeah, that sounds really good. Yep. So, and for federal stuff, and of course, there's obviously supporting like the FBI and then the U.S. Marshals as well.
Yeah, I think we need new leadership. The FBI works for the Attorney General. And when the Attorney General comes out and says that we want you to investigate parents at school board meetings who might be potential domestic extremists, I can't believe that went on in this country. And instead of the FBI director fighting back, he saluted and said, yes, sir, we're going to do that. So they made the numbers, whatever they had to make the numbers look like to make it look they're doing that. But that's a leadership issue. My wife's retired FBI as well, and we have friends that are still there that are disgusted with the politicalization of the organizations from the top down, because it all starts with leadership. So it's not that the FBI is bad.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, there certainly are issues with the FBI. But let's see. So you also had immigration on your website. So how do you plan to support the legal immigration over illegal immigration? Because you made that separation on your website, and that doesn't get enough of a separation.
Yeah, the press and the Democrat Party like to conflate the two, right? And say, oh, you hate all immigration. I'm the grandson of immigrants that came in from Lebanon, so I definitely know the value of immigration. I have their Ellis Island paperwork, and they're very proud to come here and do it the right way. And they taught us two things: the value of education and the value of work. So I have 2 master's degrees and a PhD because my grandmother said education is something they could never take away. And she'd always point her finger. Which is why I did that. And hard work too. Work ethic for all of our families. We've all been productive members of society. And in our family, if you didn't have a job by the time you were 10 years old, you were considered a slacker of the family. So we all had that work ethic. But again, that came from legal immigration. This country certainly needs legal immigration. Most countries in the world are losing population: China, Japan, Russia, a lot of Europe. So you need legal immigration. And why wouldn't you want to have the best and brightest in the world to come here, right? But we need to revamp that system where it's more a merit-based system. similar to how other countries do it. I don't know if there's appetite in Congress for that. I would certainly hope to lead that effort. But that's for the legal immigration side. I don't know why it's so hard just to stop illegal immigration and close the border. We have a largely Hispanic community down here. They are extremely upset with the open border because they came through the right way, and they know it takes a long time, and it takes a long time to get a doctor's appointment now. Imagine adding 6 million more people to that waiting list, because that's what's going to happen. So New York, Chicago, Washington, D.C. are seeing the problems with this excessive illegal immigration and what happens when you don't plan for it and do it the right way. So it's an easy order to do. President Trump had effective control of the border with the Remain in Mexico and the asylum policies. And this administration just decided, whatever reasons, I'll leave that up to you and your audience, to open the doors and let everybody in. And now you saw another caravan of 15,000 coming to the border, and they're encountering 10,000 people a day. It's just ridiculous, and the fact that it's not in the newspapers and the press every single day flabbergasts me, that the media just doesn't care.
Yeah. So, all right, those were the main questions I had. So, is there anything else you would like to just say to talk about yourself or your campaign?
We're very fiscally conservative in our campaign. We're going to get out fundraise. We're okay with that, but we're not going to get outworked. Instead of paying $10,000 to get on the ballot, which is what it costs, we're getting 5,000 signatures, and we're over 70% of the way there. So we'll make that with plenty of time. Another secret for your listeners, which I learned as a candidate, is when a candidate says they raised $2 million, that doesn't mean they keep $2 million. They have fundraisers they have to pay. They get their cut, all the fundraising materials. They may keep just 70 or about 20 to 30% of that, and the rest goes to expenses and fundraisers. So we don't do that. We're not paying outside firms to do massive fundraising hauls where they want $6,000 a month, $10,000 a month just to raise money for you, and then hopefully you raise $10,000 a month to cover that. So if people are willing to support our campaign, you just go to our website, Eddy4Congress.com, Eddy EDDY4Congress.com. There's a donate button, $5, $15. We need to retire Congresswoman Wasserman Schulz and get some normalcy back into Washington. I've been asked to stop the chaos that's going up there. I'm certainly going to do my part on that. The three things I'm running on, which you covered, are civility, security, and fiscal discipline. So if you agree with those, and you agree we need more normal people in Washington and not these lifelong politicians — I'm a supporter of term limits, by the way — then look at my website and see how you want to get involved.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Great, thanks.
I hope to see you win next year. I don't live in Broward County, but if I did, I would love to vote for you.
Great. I appreciate the time today, and good luck with the podcast, and thanks for getting the word out for me.
Thank you, and good luck on your campaign.
Thanks. I'm available anytime you need me.
All right. Sounds very good.
Thanks.